Hello and welcome to True Guidance Tarot. My name is Adriana Theodora Dyer. I'm an intuitive reader, and today we're talking about the power of your past. This is a very, very dramatic thing, but the power of your past is so important. It is so essential to you getting done what you need to get done in this lifetime that you're here. So let me step back and give you a little bit of context. Every single soul that's alive, that will ever be alive, that has been alive, comes to Earth with specific lessons to learn. And there are those of us, regardless whether you're spiritual or not, regardless if you're psychic or not, regardless of whatever, there are those of us that have this idea of fate. That life is like this movie where every single detail has been worked out, down to the place you're living, what you're wearing, what you're eating, all this stuff that is already worked out. And a lot of people come to intuitive tarot readers like myself and they ask me questions like, am I going to get this job? Am I going to meet the man of my dreams? Is this relationship going to work out? And so they're assuming that the movie of life, of their life, has already been made, and I can just, with my little magic wand up here, take a sneak preview of the specific area they're looking at. The truth is that there's so much more free will, there's so much more creation, there's so much more joy in the forming of your life's movie, if you want to call it that, that predetermined life fate, that's not really a thing. I think there are certain key events that may be predetermined, but the large details of our life are really up to us. Because again, what's underneath is the fabric of the lesson we're supposed to learn, the bigger picture, something that you see from a spiritual perspective, not from a smaller 3D on the ground, the world of the five senses. This is a bigger thing we're going on. So, okay, I've lost the thread of the past. Why does this have to do with the past? Well, the past is what creates your future. And I know that sounds super trite, but let me break it down for you. So we have the immediate past, last week, yesterday. We also have the past of our childhood. And that is a really important past because that is where these negative patterns come into formation and come into being solid. So by interacting with our parents, by observing our parents, and our siblings are wound up in there, we form these patterns or spirals that always are negative. And it's not to say that everyone's childhood is negative, it's that we're picking up patterns that are negative. And this is all on purpose because these patterns give us the lesson that we are supposed to overcome in this life. And it's so amazing the way this is constructed because these patterns are dysfunctional. They cause us pain, and yet we keep going back to them over and over and over again. Because what our guides want us to do, what our higher self wants us to do, is choose with a conscious mind to get out of those patterns, to figure out how to stop them, to figure out how to overcome them, to figure out how to be done with those patterns so that we don't have to keep not only repeating them in this life, but we're repeating them in our next life, and our next life, and our next life. There's also the idea that if one person gets it in this life, the next generation of people, so your children and your children's children, that they don't also have to go through it. Because a lot of these patterns that we're living through have been passed down through genetic memory, but also just through behavior, genetic behavior. You know, you watch your interaction with your mother, you watch your mother's interaction with her mother, and you say, oh, okay, that's very similar. So let's see if we've completely lost it here. I'm also talking with them, with my guides at the same time, so all of this is just kind of rolling and flowing out, and I'm not really able to keep track of it. So the reason why your past is important is because these patterns are buried in your subconscious, and they're what pull you and push you towards the dysfunction. Because if we think about this, if you as a rational person know, okay, that's going to cause me hurt. I tried that before. I dated that kind of person before and I got hurt. Or I went into that situation before with this attitude and I got hurt. Or I tried this kind of job and it didn't work out. As a logical, rational person, as people in a human body who hates pain, why would we keep going back to it? The purpose of being a human is to go towards pleasure and avoid pain. But something in us keeps going towards the pain, keeps going towards that relationship that doesn't work, keeps going towards friends that don't understand us, towards work that doesn't appreciate us, towards work that doesn't fulfill us. That's all the result of these subconscious patterns that are formed from our past, either from childhood, from past lives, from our genetic past, whatever you want to call it. So again, that subconscious, now sub meaning below, it's underneath our conscious. Our conscious is here where I'm talking to you, where you're listening to me. Subconscious is underneath all of that. It's not something that can be really sensed with the five senses. And this is where we get into the spiritual, emotional, intuitive realm, because intuition is all about seeing, comprehending, embracing patterns. And intuitive readers are able, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but intuitive readers are able to see those patterns. So when I was talking to my guides about this all started from a conversation with them about, why won't you guys let me see farther into the future? Why do I resist looking into the future so much? It's one thing to project out from where someone is. So if someone's in a place and I see their pattern, I can say, well, if you follow this pattern, this is what's likely to happen. That's comfortable for me, but actually trying to get that preview of the person's movie, it kind of really doesn't make sense to me, because there's so many variables. You can't, especially if we're talking about relationships, we're talking about you, but we're talking about the other people and all the other people they're in contact with. So there's so many factors that shift around. And so the practical side of me is going, well, I could predict it from this moment, but if this other person changes their mind, this changes the whole trajectory. And so really, what's the value of this? And my guides came in and they said, your particular strength is the past, is helping people sort out these pasts, because the past is what creates your future. If we have this subconscious engine that is driving us towards these situations and people that are negative, that keep bringing us pain, that keep bringing us hurt, that we can't seem to get away from, it's like an addiction. That's where an intuitive reading really, really can help you, because an intuitive reading goes right to the level of the subconscious and it brings it up into your conscious awareness, because awareness is the key, right? If you're just blindly plunging through a rose garden and you're not really looking, you're going to be scratched all over the place from those thorns. But if you're aware of the fact that roses have thorns, you might proceed a little bit more cautiously, and you might be giving those rose bushes a little bit more space. So this is the whole point, is that an intuitive reading, the kinds of intuitive readings that I do, they exist to give you empowerment and information so that you can start to overcome these patterns and start to live that life that you know that you deserve, without this dysfunction, without the drama, without all the pain of these failed situations. And failed is, I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean failed in that they brought you pain, and yet you keep repeating them. So this is a rambling roundabout way. So, even if you decide to never get an intuitive reading or never pursue these things, what I'd like you to take away from this video is that you really need to question yourself about your past. Instead of asking yourself, well, what's next? What's in the future? Ask yourself, have I really resolved my past? Am I really done, or do I notice these patterns keep coming up? And if they keep coming up, what is really the key thing? What is really the underlying essential part of that I haven't understood? Because if they keep coming up, obviously I'm not done with them. And if they keep coming up and I'm attracted to them, I'm definitely not done with them. Start asking yourself about your past and how you feel about that. Are you just resolved with it? Or are you just kind of keeping it at bay, not really wanting to go into it and deal with it? And everyone has to come to this point in their lives in their own time. I would never want to push anyone before they're ready. But just keep in mind that the longer you keep these issues at bay, the more pain you're inviting into your life. Because there's simply no way through them. You need to get over them. So this is not about plowing into the hurdle. This is about jumping over it. So just some thoughts for you. I appreciate you staying with me. I know it was kind of rambling, but I hope there was a lot of kernels of takeaway for you in here. And if you have any questions about it, please reach out in the comments. I love to hear from you, and I'd love to engage with you and talk with you more about these kind of things. So some thoughts for the day, and I hope you have a great one.